Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. Are you evaluating your career in real estate? Feel like you're ready for a fresh start? Or ready to take your career to the next level? This is your podcast. Welcome to So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. I'm Meredith Fogel, your host, and I'm so excited because today we are starting a whole new series called The New Agent Chronicles. And I have two newer agents with me today, Ellie Sweeney and Tina and Ellie, and they're going to introduce themselves in a second. But what I'm excited about is these guys are off to such a good, strong start. And I know that a lot of our audience listening and watching are people who are either new in real estate, thinking about getting into real estate, or maybe you've had a little bit of a plateau in your career and you want to launch through to the next level. So these guys are in here doing the work and getting some wins. So I wanted to bring them on to feature them, tell you a little bit about what they're doing, share their challenges and struggles along the way as well. But they're really very new in getting started. So I thought it would be fun for you to follow their journey as well as we progress here. So without further ado, let me introduce Ellie and Tina. So Ellie, I think I heard you say you wanted to go first, or you were voluntold to go first, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we will allow you to go first. So thank you for agreeing to be voluntold.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so introduce yourself, Ellie.
Okay. I am Ellie Sweeney. I am 22 years old. I graduated from the University of Michigan last May, so almost a year now, which is kind of scary. And just a little backstory about me. I reached out to Meredith, I think, the summer after my freshman year of college. And I was like, hey, Meredith, I think I might want to do real estate. I don't know. I watched some shows. I had no idea what it was about, actually. And so I went and I worked for her that summer, and then a few summers after that, and then after I graduated, I came back to do marketing and some kind of listing support and things like that. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. And then I decided in December, well, a little before December, to get my license. I took the test in December, and then I've done real estate since. Yeah.
Yes, and so interesting that you came into it with a thought that maybe you want to be a real estate agent or do something in the real estate related field. Learned a lot, and I want to ask you about that in a few minutes, how that helped or didn't help getting your feet wet as more of the support, marketing, and administrative side in real estate. But yeah, we were so thrilled when Ellie decided to finally actually pull the trigger, get her license. It was kind of a nerve-wracking process, the studying, getting the license, including when she first pulled up the results of the test. She's like, I don't know, I can't tell. Did I pass? I'm like, it says passed, you passed. So we were all very excited, and she has really put her head down and worked really hard. So congrats on your early successes. We're glad you're here, and thank you for introducing yourself. All right, Tina.
So hi, my name's Tina. I'm a native Washingtonian. I grew up in the Potomac area, North Potomac area, Rockville, Bethesda. I've kind of been around the neighborhood. For the past 10 years, I've lived in the Kentlands and loved it. I actually met Meredith about 10 years ago, and it was at a chili cook-off here in the Kentlands, and I talked to her a little bit about what she did here, and it always just stuck with me, and I've always been interested in real estate, and like Ellie, and like probably so many of you, I watched all those shows, Love It or List It, or any of those, and I always thought, I can totally do that, and I want to do that. I love it. And then after talking with Meredith, it just felt like, you know what, when I do make this move, I want to work for her. So time went by, and I was in sales for hotels for a while, and then I decided to make a transition and go get my license. And a lot of this was because my friends and my mom kept on telling me, this is what you need to do. You were born for this, and you've always wanted to do it, and this is your chance. And everything just lined up, right? The stars lined up for me, and I took the classes over the summer. I talked to Meredith, and I slowly eased myself in, and then I began here the second week of January, and it has been an amazing start to my career. I've loved it. I have learned so much. When you go to real estate school, they do not tell you any of this stuff, okay? So I will tell you, everything that you learn is really just to pass that test. the actual learning comes from the people you work with.
Yeah, so true and so well said. And yes, you have a great start to your real estate career and have been so intentional about what you've been doing since you started. And I think you make a couple of really good points. One is, and I heard both of you guys say that you watched the real estate shows and you were like, that looks interesting, I can do that. And knowing that what you learn in real estate school does not prepare you at all for what the real estate world looks like. So I want to ask you this. I don't think I've ever asked anybody this before. Based on what you see in those shows or saw in those shows, how different or similar is what you actually do to what you saw on TV?
You want to answer that one?
I haven't gotten to the love it or list it yet. So I feel like that's more the design aspect, right? I think that what I do is more in the background and it's probably not shown on TV, a lot of it. But parts of it are. I mean, some of it is like it. You know, I do tour houses and show people things, and I do meet with clients or customers that become clients, and we talk about what they're looking for. And we go visit a couple houses and we sit down and talk about what they liked about some and what they didn't. So I do see that in the shows a lot. Of course, they make it look a lot fancier, but it's kind of fancier in the Catlins too.
I feel like I almost don't even remember. Like, it was so long ago. Like, I think I started, the first summer I worked for you, I think I was 18 or something like really young. Yeah. And so I feel like I have seen what it's actually like for so long at this point that when I kind of jumped in, I kind of knew, like, to a point, like, what I was getting into. I mean, I still feel like I thought I knew at least. And then when I got into it, I was like, okay, like, I thought I knew, I kind of knew, but not totally. But I knew a lot more than what I had initially come into, like, it thinking of.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think something that you guys both sort of pointed out is the work that's necessary to achieve the jackpot, which is what you see on those TV shows, because what we work for is the ability to go show clients homes and help them reach their goals. That's why we do all the background work, all the things like picking up the phone and calling and things like that, that are maybe the less glamorous pieces of it, and perfecting our craft, like practicing our scripts and watching webinars and listening to podcasts and really beginning to understand the contract and studying all of the tech tools necessary to help support us in our goals. Those are the things they don't really show on TV because they're a little bit more like elbow grease work and they're not as fun to watch. Sometimes they are pretty fun to do, but what we're doing it all for is the real fun, which is getting out there and serving our clients, which I think for the top tier real estate agents, that's what you strive for, those moments where you're in what Tom Ferry calls the zone of greatness, and you're in front of the client doing the thing. That's why you do everything else. That's why everything else matters. And so it's interesting too that you guys both are hitting on the differences that you kind of saw between, or what you thought the real estate business would look like and what you're actually seeing and being. So Ellie, if you could name, you specifically mentioned that, something, like give us one thing that maybe you now realize is necessary to succeed in real estate that you maybe didn't recognize was necessary, even though you were here in the office working as our intern for all those years.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of what I was doing as an intern was like marketing and like the fun, like, okay, like I'm gonna do a really cool postcard or design something really cool to like market, I don't know, something. And so that was like, I feel like that is a little bit different than what you have to do to like actually like build business and find customers, clients, all of that. And so I think the training and the practice, I think that's something I didn't quite realize was gonna be like so important. And this is like a kind of funny story, but a couple weeks ago I went into Chris's office after we did like a scripts training as a team, and I was like, Chris, like I totally bombed that. Like Meredith is so good, she's like, she knows exactly what to say, and I'm just like a disaster. And he was like, Ellie, like she's been doing it for years and years and years. She's been practicing. And I think I've kind of learned like, okay, like, I guess this is a lesson I've learned already, not to like focus so much on like feeling badly about that, and instead like actually like putting in the time and effort in the practice. So I've kind of been like looking at the scripts like every day and really practicing them and trying to get my skills to where they need to be. And so yeah, that's definitely something I didn't really realize it was going to be like I need to be practicing, training so much. And I've kind of realized that it makes me feel like I can help other people better.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's been really a big thing.
Really well said, and a great realization. And I think that's something that, people also don't often think about, because I think a lot of us hope that we're going to just jump in and be excellent at what we do right away. And there are definitely aspects of the business that everybody has a more natural affinity to. And what we get to do is still the things that you're so good at and more fun, like marketing, creating the postcards and things like that. But practicing the skills that enable you to be persuasive in communication and really assist your clients at a high level, that's what you just focused in on as being so important. And it's so, so, so true. The other thing is, I always equate it to being on a sports team, right? If you've ever played on a high level sports team of any kind, you will never get out on the field or onto the court and are immediately a superstar. It doesn't happen. You might be really good, but you're not going to be at that top level unless you practice. The really elite players, they practice all the time, and you don't see that. You don't see the sweat. I mean, sometimes in a documentary that's retrospective, you might see what somebody did to get to the level of their game, but people are in there in the trenches, practicing, honing and perfecting those skills, just like an elite athlete would do. That's what you have to do to get to that elite level of success. And then you also have to have the opportunity, I believe, to apply those skills in real life. So that's one reason that we love the ability to bring you in, have you shadow and see things being completed in real time, and then giving you those at-bats, so you guys getting leads and getting the opportunity to get out and actually practice your skills, because you can practice all day behind the scenes, but until you get out there and actually start to implement and apply what you're learning, you don't really learn what's working well for you and how you need to adapt and grow. So you both had chances to do that, which is fantastic. Well said. How about you, Tina?
What was the question again?
That was a long diversion from the question. So the question was, from the things that you originally thought real estate was going to be like, what's one realization that feels different that's come to you?
Okay, so I know Ellie mentioned this too, but one of the biggest things for me was the actual training and the learning and the repetitiveness. Making a schedule and sticking with it, waking up in the morning, doing your exercise, listening to your podcast, getting in the mind zone. It's getting your mind ready, focused, and that positive attitude to start your day. Who knew that these things were so important? But they really are. These little things, and repeating them every day makes such a difference for me. And also having your own song. What do we call it? Your
hype song.
Your hype song, I call it a closing song, but we all were talking about this in a meeting the other day. Everybody should have a closing song or a hype song or a walk-in song.
Yes.
And you play this right before you either meet with the client or before you're going to sign something.
Yes.
But I think the main thing I didn't know is how much there is to know. So every day we come and it's never the same, I have to say. It's always a new experience. I have to pinch myself because I'm just really, really happy. I'm really happy to be part of this team, this group. We work with so many great people and everyone's been here to help me get to the level I need to be. And I'm so lucky to have Meredith and Chris, and actually Ellie, she's been helping me so much too. But to learn these skills, hone these skills, and Meredith's just at the forefront of everything. So as soon as she knows something, she's always there to share her knowledge with us and help us be better. So I love that about her. We're always talking about, the latest thing or what's going on, and this is going on, and this is the situation, and we tackle it in a great way because we go back and forth, and she has so much experience, so she tells us some of the things that have worked for her in the past, and they seem to always work for me.
Well, thank you for that, and that's great. I'm glad they are working for you. And that's another thing I would say is you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? So there are so many things that people have already come up with and perfected and figured out how to do at a high level that when you're a new agent, especially if you can join in a partnership or a team with somebody who's already figured some of the things out at least, it can really help launch you quickly into the career that you want for yourselves. So let me pivot to that question for you guys. Give me a high level, or give our audience a high level idea of what your goals are, because this is what we're going to kind of track as we go through this journey with you together. Every time we get on this series, we're going to have a little bit of an update for everybody who's watching and listening on what you guys are doing with your careers. So for each of you, give me your first year in real estate. What is your goal in terms of numbers, number of transactions, your total volume goal, your GCI goal, so your income goal for this year, and anything else you want to share with us about your goals? Who wants to start?
Ellie.
Silence. Okay, so sorry.
That's okay.
That's a tough one. The specifics I don't have off the top of my head, but I really want to list. I want to list,
Okay.
and I want to list a lot.
Okay.
That's my goal.
List a lot.
I should probably make it into more of a specific thing, but yeah, like I feel like I've watched Meredith do so many listings, and that's usually what a lot of my like admin work kind of is around, is the listings. And that's what I want to do. I want to have my own listing, and yeah, that's my goal. So maybe.
Okay, so let me help you drill down on this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give Ellie a little bit of coaching, so you'll see this year.
Great.
So Ellie, when you talk about listings, what is your goal? Let's take it into more micro terms here. So spring market, okay? So until the end of Q2, let's say.
Sure.
How many listings do you take?
3.
Take 3 listings by the end of Q2. Okay, you guys heard it here. 3 listings by the end of Q2. And what do we know needs to happen to create listings?
A lot of things.
A lot of things. Tell our audience, what are the things you're doing to create listings?
I am calling every day. I am doing emails similar to what I send for Meredith and with Meredith. I don't know what we work together on. We use listing leads a lot. We send emails to kind of build trust with the areas we're working with. I've started with social media more, so that's another thing I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to connect with more people, build trust, and get out there, make connections.
Good. So I'm using some systems. So always plug into the systems that your brokerage has for you. Ask them, because they don't always tell you unless you ask them what systems they have in place that you can take advantage of to help you reach your goals. So for example, if one of your goals is 3 listings by the end of Q2, what are some ways that your brokerage or your team leader can help you turn over sellers who are likely to sell? So for example, Ellie mentioned listing leads. That's an email campaign. We use that in concert with Fellow, which is the system that we use to help find ready sellers. So Fellow leads together with listing leads, outreach and emails, and then phone calls, as Ellie mentioned. We like to call them warm calls, not cold calls, because we're warming them up with a letter and or an email before we make the phone call, often with a CMA, so that we have something to talk about when we call the potential seller. And those things together are creating this kind of like magic formula for us, which are turning over listing leads. So super, super helpful. So figure out if listings are your thing, how can your broker help you, what tools are already in place, or if you're not with a team or there are no tools that are available to you, you can find something like, watch our podcast or get a coach. A coach is a really good idea too, even for a brand new agent. As you guys know, I'm a coach for Tom Ferry, and I work with a lot of new agents who would be really kind of like on an island by themselves if they didn't have the guidance and the built-in processes and systems to plug into, to use in their business in a way that makes sense to launch them into quick success. All right, Tina, how about you? Your goals?
Sure. So I have 3 goals. So how I kind of set it up in my mind is like first the definitely reachable, attainable one. And then I have what's called like the median goal. And then I have what I really shoot for. And it's if you work really, really hard and reach for the clouds, it can happen. You can accomplish it, but it's up there. So my goal to achieve this year is 10 million. So selling 10 million is where it's at. We're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. And that's going to begin, beginning now, March. And my median goal is 15, and my really high dream goal for this first year is 20. So, and that's kind of how I'm looking at every day. When I plan my day and I'm looking at numbers and looking at houses that are for sale, I'm always thinking, okay, I need to sell this many townhomes, this many homes, or in this, neighborhood, this would be what would, add up to be that number. But that's how I'm always thinking, okay, 10 million, let's get to that 10 million. So, all the work we've been doing since we started is really building our pipeline. So right now we make a ton of cold calls. We reach out to our sphere. We've been doing social media. It's really like a comprehensive approach to selling, to listing, to meeting people, a ton of emails, a ton of email reach out. So I feel like if you tap into everything and do all of this at the same time, the universe is going to come back to you and be like, oh, you did it, you did it, you did it. Here you go, here's your reward. But you got to go out there and you got to try all these things and not be afraid.
And you've got to really do the work with consistency. That's the other thing I want to point to quickly, because I think sometimes what happens or can happen is we try to throw like everything at the wall and nothing sticks. As new agents, I see this happen all the time. And often it's throwing the wrong things at the wall, so nothing's going to stick anyway. But what we want to make sure of is, though we're engaging in a comprehensive strategy, we're engaging it in a way where we're very focused about the strategic pieces of it and plugging everything in tactically so that we can implement successfully. So by that I mean, you guys talked about schedule and time block, and that was an exercise that we did together when you guys first started in this. So we've got a time blocking tool. If you're interested in a copy of it, let me know. Happy to share it with you. That we use that helps you guys organize your time. That's one thing that agents, even at really high levels, struggle with, is keeping control of their time. They allow themselves to get pulled off by a buyer calling and going, oh, I want to go see this right now during a lead generation or appointment setting time period. That's the fastest way to start to derail your career, is if you allow yourself to lose control of your schedule. If you're time blocked for lead generation or appointments, that's sacred time. That's time you have scheduled with yourself. And if you have to erase it because truly there's something urgent that comes up, you've got to replace it somewhere else. So people who have been watching for a while know that one. I've heard it said that many times. And making sure that you're breaking down all of the lead gen activities. So let's give, for the audience, a really specific idea for a second. Give like the top couple of lead generating activities that you guys do on a consistent basis. So picture in your mind's eye your schedule. What if you're in that appointment setting time, what are you doing to lead generate? Tina, you go first this time.
So what I do is I do a lot of warm and cold calls. So I will, look at the area that I'm focused on for the day and kind of do a little research. I'll have the names that we get from, what's the name of the?
Exact Dial?
Yes, Exact Dial. And I'll get those names, and then we also get leads. So I'll do a little bit of background research on it, and then I set up my time. I get my mind set to make the calls. And I've learned from Meredith, you should stand when you make these calls. It really does help. Your confidence comes out more, and I feel like you have just more control over the call and everything and how it goes. But anyway, so what I do is just focus on making those calls, and sometimes you do get sidetracked, but the most important thing is to come back and finish your calls by the end of the day, because that's the most important thing. You've got to get that in.
And who are you calling specifically?
So today, it depends on the day, but right now I've been focused on a larger neighborhood here in the Kentlands because I have a client looking for something.
So you're doing buyer looking calls.
So I'm doing buyer looking calls, or what we like to call some matchmaking going on here. We're trying to find something for someone, and we're trying to find the perfect match for it. So right now I have what my client is looking for. I've done the research. I've taken a look at all the plots of land in the Kentlands that could fit her needs, and I've made an outline. So you got to do a lot of research before you make some of these, right? I also have seen, the time and some of these people have lived in these homes and what would make more sense, because I'm not going to call somebody that just moved into their house last year and ask them if, they're ready to sell.
Well, I'm going to challenge you on that, because people do. People do. They have job relocations. They're unhappy with the house that they bought. They have changes in family dynamics. Don't count those people out just because they've only been in there for a short time. Those are the people that the sign will pop up in their yard and you go, if only I had called them. Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. Yes, yeah. Then I will add them to my list.
Yeah.
And then, I start making the calls, and, this happened yesterday. I made probably 9 in the neighborhood. And number 10 actually could be a viable lead. So we'll find out some more soon, but the work will hopefully pay off in itself.
So buyer looking calls. So you've slated those for today, which is great. Give me, who else are you calling?
I already called a few people that had shared some interest. It showed in our system that they were looking for homes in the area.
Okay.
So I reached out.
Leads.
I reached out and spoke to somebody this morning about that, and we talked a little bit and chatted about homes in Olney, and we're going to set up a time to talk. And then the other part of my day that this will be for about 2:00 today is creating CMAs. So really doing the research and looking at the people that I need to reach out to, and making a value report on their home and emailing it out to them. And then I set up a phone call to call them back in about 3 days and see what they thought of the value of their home.
Beautiful. Okay, so 3 really good focus strategies for calling. One is what we call the CMA a day strategy. That was the last one that you just talked about, that are fellow led, meaning they are likely to sell sellers. 2 was the what we call stagnant leads or stale leads from the database, which are still active, because here's what we know: when people check into that database, it can take them years sometimes to actually make a decision. So just because it's an old lead or feels like a stagnant lead doesn't mean it's not a viable lead. So you're getting in there and you're converting those. And the first one that you mentioned was matchmaking via what we call the magic buyer or buyer looking strategy, calling focused sellers who might have houses that are a fit for your buyers. Beautiful. Okay, top 3 people that you would be calling.
Same, pretty much generally. I've been doing a lot of like buyer looking calls, fellow, working with that, CMAs, following up. And I know we have like a whole new expired campaign that we're kind of starting. So that's going to be the next big group to call for me.
Good. Okay. So you guys you're on it, you're time blocked for that. So a couple of things I hope people have taken away that are helpful today is organize your time, be consistent in your approach, time block for success. And I would say even specifically in your time blocks, write who you're going to be calling, and then do your research. I heard you say that, Tina. You're researching ahead of time. Your research should not be done during your call times. Do the research ahead of time so that when you have those call blocks scheduled, you've got all the info you need in your CRM, hopefully organized and tagged so that you can pull that up and just begin to make the calls when your time blocks for calling are scheduled. Okay, so beautiful job. So you guys can see the hard work that these guys are doing in the background to get to their goals. You're also doing things, though, I want to say, like you're out and about talking to people. You're continuing to enhance and deepen relationships with the people that you know, which is so important too, because your sphere of influence as a new agent is usually your most successful lead pillar. All of these other things will work as well, certainly, but letting everybody know that you're in real estate, giving them real information about the market so that when you have that question, how is the market? You don't just say great or you say crazy or something like that. You have actual data that you can share. So they're in there learning all of these things every single day, and they're out there positioning themselves as real estate professionals and resources for the people that you meet so that you have people calling you when they think about real estate. All right, our last thing I want to ask you guys about today is either you can choose one of these. One is, what is a key lesson you've learned so far that you think would be valuable for our audience listening and watching to hear? And or what do you think what do you wish you had known when you started on your real estate journey that you know now? Either one of you guys can start.
I can talk about the key lesson.
Okay.
So sometimes when you make a call or you talk to someone or they don't call you back, you start creating these stories in your head. We've all been there, right? It's like, oh, they didn't call me back because of this, or, and blah, 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 blah. Stop creating these stories, because it's 99% of the time it is not what is happening. So, taking a step back and trying again. So maybe you got that person's voicemail and they had left you an email to call them, or maybe they haven't gotten back to you in a few days. Try again. Be persistent. I've definitely found, sometimes it's the 3rd or 4th call that someone will actually pick up and talk to you. And I've had people tell me, hey, I'm so sorry I couldn't get back to you the other day. I was at work and it was a really crazy day, or, I was at my son's, event and it was going later than expected. And, you actually hear the real reasons, but just don't create those reasons like they don't like me, they don't want to work with me. So that's one big thing I've learned. Just stop making it up.
Such a good one.
And just keep going about doing what you're supposed to do. And then what was the other question? It was,
what do you wish you had known that you know now when you started on your real estate journey?
I mean, I wish I'd known I should have 1 million friends in my sphere,
You do have a lot of friends, though. I mean,
I'm
that's
kidding.
good.
I love you guys. I guess I wish I'd known it takes a village. That's the main thing, how it takes a village to raise a kid. It takes a village to learn as much as you need to learn about real estate. I feel like on the shows, they make it seem real easy. You think like you get the call and you're like, oh, hi, oh, you want me to sell your house? Okay, sure, I'll be right there, and then you go and you meet with someone like, okay, sell my house. All right, sign the contract. There you go, done, sold.
Yes.
No, it's nothing like that at all. But I feel like it's about the journey anyways.
Yes.
That's what's fun about it.
Yes.
It's the work that goes into it. Yes, you gotta be passionate about what you do every day. And then once you do get that listing or that sale, it's just ever so much sweeter.
So well said. Beautiful takeaways, both of those. Beautiful learnings, beautiful lesson learned as well. And I think you're so right. I just want to quickly speak to that story that people tell within their own heads, because the story that we sometimes tell is, like you said, they don't like me, I don't want to bug them, whatever. But the story they're telling in their head is, she forgot about me. I guess she's too busy for me. Or I guess she just doesn't, my business isn't all that important to her. So by staying in front of them in a way that shows that you care and that you're respectful of the fact that they might have something going on in their lives, they will come back to you when they're ready. And I will also say, fast forward your career to a few years later than where you are now, when you are grinding head down, doing all the things every single day. What you just described, the person calling you and saying, hey, can you come over and list my house? It'll happen. It'll happen. It'll look like it does on TV. Ellie, how about you?
Okay, so it was, sorry, I just got totally sidetracked.
Biggest learning or lesson you've learned, okay. And then anything that you wish you had known before you started your journey in real estate that you know now.
Okay, I think what I wish I had known is the amount of discipline it takes, and kind of I've realized I have to hold myself accountable, and I have to do the things day in and day out. And even if I'm oh, I don't want to make goals, just doing them anyway. And I think that was something that I didn't really even think was going to be a thing, but
building the muscle.
Yeah, right. And so that's a big thing. And then I think too, a lesson. I feel this is actually kind of interesting, but I just listened to a different podcast that Meredith did recently, the Comparisonitis one, and I feel like that's a lesson I'm kind of learning, because I didn't even realize I was doing it. But I'm constantly in the back of my mind, comparing myself to all these other agents who have been doing it forever and all these different things. And I think I'm kind of learning that instead of comparing myself, I think it's good for me to have goals and to be I have role models and things like that. I think it's good on one hand, but I think on the other, I've learned that instead of, I kind of said it earlier, but instead of focusing on I'm not this, what I can do to make myself move down that path to be that.
Yep. And again, so well said. Beautiful, both of you guys. One of the things that my original mentor said to me when I would have those moments where I was why is that person getting this? And well, how could she possibly be? She's not even that. I'd have all these things in my head. Sometimes I'd articulate, and she'd say, don't worry about what they're doing. You just keep doing what you're doing and watch what happens. And she was so right. So play that script in your head, those moments that comparisonitis comes up, or you feel you wish something had happened a little faster or were going differently. Think about all the things, all the work that you're doing. Just get right back into it with that passion and motivation that you mentioned, the discipline that you mentioned. It's all of those factors that will create that career of your dreams. You guys are on your way. I'm so lucky to have you both. And I think you guys are so lucky to have gotten to hear from them. And we're so lucky that we get to have you watching and listening to us and following them along on their journey. How can they find you guys on social media if they want to reach out and send you some words of support or have questions for you? What's the best place?
Ooh, okay. Well, I just did a whole social media rebrand yesterday for real estate, but You can follow me. I'm Ellie_@the_list. So
On Instagram.
yeah.
Okay.
So find me there.
Perfect.
Or LinkedIn, but I don't even know what I am on there.
Go to
Just
Instagram.
find me.
Instagram's better. Okay, Tina, how about you?
You can find me at TinaNader1 on Instagram. And also, you can also follow kind of what we're all doing on Meredith's.
So true.
Yeah, so we're lucky because we have stories that follow us in our journey, and Meredith has those on the List Realty Facebook website and Instagram. But I also do have a Facebook, and it's Tina Nader.
All
And
right.
you can follow me there and find out what's coming up.
So check them out. Send them your words of encouragement, questions that you have. We are happy to answer questions that you'd like to see us answer on future shows. Thank you so much for listening. Tina and Ellie, thank you so much for everything you shared today. You guys are awesome, and we can't wait to follow the rest of your story as we progress here. This has been So You Want to Be a Real Estate Agent. We'll see you next time.
Bye.